to discuss about ways to access application properties in Spring Boot app. So there are three ways I am going to explain how to access application properties in a Spring Boot application. So let's start with creating a sample application. So let's use a Spring Boot starter project to create a application. So I am giving the application name as a Spring Boot sample app config. Okay. Let's create the application. Application is created. So let's add a port where it is we want to run the application. I am giving 8084 as a port. Since other applications are using some other port, this is the unique port which is not used, so I am giving 8084. Okay. So how to first I will show you how to access the properties using a value annotation. Okay. So let's create a class called let's take an example. Let's create a call my config service. Annotate this class with service. Okay. Let's create some method which returns value of a config property which we are accessing. So config property is a method where we are returning a property name. Okay. So let's keep return null for now. First we will add a property in a application property file. Let's say I am adding a my app dot property 1 equal to ABC. Okay, this is my property. Let's go to service class. So using a at value annotation, you have to return that property, access that property using a at value annotation. Okay, please import the package. So here property key is my app dot property 1. So let's import this property. So you have to give the path of this value key whatever exists in the application properties. So we are creating a variable called property 1 as a string variable. So we can return this property. So let's create a simple REST controller to call this class and get the property. Let's give the name as app controller, app config controller. Add the annotation as a @ controller. Okay, so we are not getting the annotation because so to create a web application, so we have to add a property dependency called Spring Boot Starter Web. So let's copy the dependency from other service. Okay, so we have to add a Spring Boot Starter Web. Now you can see the REST controller annotation is came because we have added a Spring Boot Starter Web. Let's create a method, get method, which returns the property. So give the path as a config. Annotate with get mapping. Okay, so let's call the service. So first we have to auto wire the service class. Let's copy the service name directly from here. Okay, so we have auto wired config service. We will directly return the property value. Okay, so the controller is ready now. So controller is calling my config service with the method get config property, and here it is returning property value. So let's run this application. So you can see the application started in Tomcat on port 8080. Let's test this application. Okay, from the browser, you can see the property value is written as ABC. So we have configured the property value as ABC. Okay, this is how we can access the any property using annotation called @value. Okay, so let's discuss second way of accessing the application property. So that is using environment object. Okay, so let's auto wire. Let's okay, to access the environment variable we have to auto wire environment. So you have to import the package for environment, that is org spring framework dot core dot environment. Okay, so let's create another method, public string get property using env. So string property val equal to environment dot get property. So here we have to pass property key. So whatever the property key we have in the application property file, it is myapp.property1. So that one we have to pass here. Okay, now return the property val. Now create another method in controller to get the property value from environment. Okay, so I have created a get property with environment. Okay, so I am passing the, I am changing the context path as config/env. So let's call the other method get property using environment. So now control is also ready. So let's start application. You can see it is application started. So we have to call the config/env. So you can see it is returning ABC as a value. Let's change this value to some other value. Okay, so I am keeping it as a value as a Raju. Okay, now let's restart the application. So application started. Let's hit the application one more time. You can see value changed, it is now Raju. So this is how you can access the application property using a environment. So let's discuss third way of accessing application property using a custom configuration class. Okay, let's create another class, my configuration custom. I have given name my custom configuration. Okay, you have to annotate this with configuration annotation. So in this one I will show you two types of accessing a application properties. Let's say we have already my app property 1. I will add another property, my app property 2, and my app salary equal to 10,000. Okay, so here we have 3 property with the prefix my app. So in the custom configuration class you have to pass prefix as a my app, so that whatever properties having a prefix are accessed in the application. Okay, so we have to annotate @component. So okay, it's my bad. So I have to access the application property with the prefix my app using a @configuration property. Okay, so this annotation we have to use access the application property. So let's create the variables. Property 1. So we have 3 property. Okay, so here we have property 1, property 2 and salary. So we have all 3 variables created here. Let's generate a getter setter method. Okay, now we have to use this class to get all the properties defined using these variables. Okay, so we have to auto where custom configuration class. Okay, let's create another class, another method to access those properties using a custom config class. So now let's create a model which returns the response of all three properties values. Okay, so I am creating a app config model. So this model will have all these properties. Okay, let's generate a getter setter method. So here we are returning app config object. I have created a method called get property using custom config. Okay, I am setting the property 1, getting the property value from using a custom property custom configuration class. So I am returning a app config model. So let's create a method, get method in controller. Let's call that method. So it is returning a app config model. So let's return that. So controller method is ready. So let's start the service now. So service is started. Okay, let's test the application now. You can see it is returning property with value Raju, property 2 with ABC and salary 10,000. So this is how we can access properties using a custom configuration class. So let's check another way in the custom configuration class. How can we make use of this class to access a property file? Okay. So my custom configuration, suppose if you don't have any prefix, okay, let's say name equal to Raju, then age equal to 25, then can say education equal to BTech. Okay. So how to access? We don't have any prefix like my app with these properties. Okay. How to access these properties using custom configuration? So here we have to use @annotation, @value annotation for each property. So name, age, the variable name also you can change. Okay, age, I am changing the variable name as age. Then third property is education. So education is the third property. Okay, let's generate a setter getter method. Okay. Okay, so we have removed properties from the custom configuration. So now we will change the app also, app config also. So we will make, these are the variables. So let's generate a getter setter method. Okay, now we will remove this. So we have to set a name, age and education properties. So we have set all the properties. So we have already the custom method in the controller to get the properties values. Let's run this application. So number format exception. Okay. So the issue is, so for all three we are using a, so okay, age is a integer. We have to, in case of education we have given data type as a integer, so it should be changed to integer. Okay, let's generate a getter setter method one more time. Okay, so in my config, here also we have to change age as a integer and education as a string. So let's generate getter setter method. So now everything is fine. Okay, let's run the application. Okay, application is started. So you can see here name Raju, age 25, education BTech. So it is returning the property app config model. Okay, this is how we access the application properties. Okay, in real time applications, like we we create a, mostly we create a custom configuration class, and to set the database, suppose we have, if you have configured in something like